Good afternoon, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. Grandpa coming to you from the living room in Jack's Beach. And today, we're going to do I Can Lick 30 Tigers and a couple other stories too. And that's by Dr. Seuss from 1969. As we continue to move through the Dr. Seuss books, going more or less in chronological order, and from the first one to the last one. I can lick 30 tigers today. So, what do you think? This guy looks pretty confident, doesn't he? He's got this kind of smirk on his face, and he's got his fist like, yeah, I can lick some tigers. So he's setting a pretty big goal, 30 tigers. But look, here's a tiger peeping over the hill at this guy. So let's see what happens. Uh-oh. Well, there's 30 tigers. So this will be a pretty short book if he just goes down and starts biffing tigers. Because lick doesn't mean he's going to lick them like that. No. It means to lick somebody in a fight. I can lick you. It's something when I was a kid that kids would say. I'll lick you. It didn't mean that they were going to physically lick you. Well, maybe 29. You, down there with the curly hair, will you please step out of line? I can lick 29 tigers today. Well, look at his face. He doesn't look like he thinks he can lick 29 tigers. Now, the previous page, he certainly looked like he could lick 30, at least that he thought he could lick 30. But so now he's starting to doubt it. So I can lick 29 tigers today. Well, that's sort of a mean thing to do. I'll cut down my list. First group is dismissed. I'll beat up the next 22. So, instead of saying, well, maybe I should fight a smaller group of tigers, because I don't think I can beat 29 of them. He just picks a random number, gets rid of 7 of them, and he says, because it would be mean. Well, it would be mean to beat up the 22 of them, but he's like, well, he's not saying, well, because I'm afraid. But he's afraid. I can lick 22 tigers today. We'll see. Well, maybe I'll lick 13. You in the front row, you're excused. You may go. Your fingernails aren't very clean. So now he's coming up with rules. Well, you have to have clean fingernails for me to fight you and beat you. I can lick 13 tigers today. So, well, and look, they're getting closer to him. Quite a few of you seem underweight. It's not fair after all to lick tigers so small. I think that I'll only lick 8. So now he's making up another excuse instead of saying, yeah, maybe I should just cut down on the amount of tigers I'm going to fight, because I'm pretty sure that they're going to eat me. He looks like he'd be a snack to these guys. He says, well, here's another excuse. I'm not gonna fight the skinny ones. I don't want the big tough ones. I can lick 8 big tigers today. Well, you notice at the beginning of every page it goes, well, and then ... You look sort of sleepy to me. Some of you chaps should go home and take naps. I only intend to lick 3. I can lick 3 big tigers today. Yeah, come on, guys. You want to fight? Yeah, you want some of this? Yeah, come on. Well, it's frightfully hot in the sun. You too, I'm afraid, should lie down in the shade. You're safe. I shall only lick 1. Look at the look on the tiger's faces. The guy's like, humana, humana, humana. Yeah, that's the ticket. These are all references that none of you will get. But Frankie won't get it even. I can lick 1 mighty tiger today. So he's also been doing this thing as he gets rid of tigers. He makes the remaining ones like the large tigers, or this is the mighty tiger. I can lick 1 mighty tiger today. So he's making the numbers go down, but he's making it look like the foe, his enemy, has grown. Politicians do that. So now the tiger's like sitting there going like, yeah, you think so? But, you know, I have sort of a hunch that noontime is near. You just wait for me here. I'll beat you up right after lunch. And guess what? He gets away with it. Next up is King Louis Katz. King Louis Katz. And King Louis the XIV of France, the Sun King, the like over-the-top king. He was Louis XIV. So this is Louis Katz. It's a take on that because it's cats. These are, you know, all the animals in this are going to be cats. And King Louis XIV was very fancy, and he threw all these lavish parties, and probably wasn't a very good guy. Way back in the olden golden days, in the year 139, a fancy cat named Louis was the king of Katzenstein. King Louis was a proud cat, mighty proud of his royal tail. He had it washed every morning in a 10-gallon golden pail. So you see these cats here are washing the king's tail. And the king, like, dressed up lavishly, King Louis Couture, so King Louis, what is he? King Louis Katz. My tail is such a lovely tail, King Louis used to brag. My tail must never touch the earth. My tail must never drag. So Louis Katz made Phooey Katz follow him around, and Phooey kept the kingly thing from dragging on the ground. So here's King Louis, and here's Phooey. And Phooey's sole responsibility all day is when the king walks around that he holds up his tail. Well, all was fine in Katzenstein. The king's tail wasn't dragging. But one day, Phooey looked behind and saw that his was sagging. And there it is. My lovely tail, he sighed with pride. Oh, this will never do. If Louis has his tail held up, I'm going to have mine too. So this is probably going to be, and I don't read these beforehand, so that's why I say probably going to be another sarcastic poem about bureaucracy and stuff. So Louis is the king. Nobody can tell him what to do, but he can tell this Phooey to just walk around all day holding his tail. So now Phooey gets kingly, and he goes, oh, I need somebody to hold up my tail. So let's see who he gets. So Phooey cats made Cooey cats follow him around, and Cooey cats kept Phooey's tail from dragging on the ground. Now all was fine in Katzenstein till Cooey's pride was hurt when he discovered his fine tail was dragging in the dirt. So here's the king and Phooey and Cooey, and but the next one that comes on, I probably won't have all their names memorized in order, but there's his tail dragging. So he's going to get this dude. So Cooey made a cat named Chewy. Isn't that your cat's name? Oh, no. Arlo's cat's name is Choo-Choo or Choo-Choo or something like that. I'm not a big pet fan. I don't mind pets. It's just not something that I don't ask people, hey, how's your dog? He's a dog. He's still a dog. And I don't know a lot of their names. I know most of the names of the family animals. But I'm pretty sure it's Choo-Choo. But don't hold me to that. So Cooey made a cat named Chewy follow him around, and Chewy cats kept Cooey's tail from dragging on the ground. And so it went in Katzenstein. Next Chewy cats got Hooey, and Hooey cats got Bluey cats, and Bluey cats got Prooey, till all the cats in Katzenstein were hiking round and round, all keeping one another's tails from dragging on the ground, all proud except for one small cat. And it's a shame. They should just, he should say to the king, please hold my tail, and then they could have just this big ring around the rosy constantly. So here they all are holding each other's tail, but the one proud cat, the last cat in the line, the last cat of all the cats that lived in Katzenstein, a most unhappy little cat named Zooey Katzenbein. His tail would never be held up, and poor old Zooey knew it. So Z is the last letter of the alphabet, and he's the last cat. These are things as you get older, you'll start to just realize these things. Like Arlo, you'll be there fairly soon. Or if you were listening to the story, you would go like, oh yeah, the last in line starts with Z, Zooey. His tail would never be held up, and poor old Zooey knew it, because holding up a cat's tail takes another cat to do it. Poor Zooey got so awfully mad, so mad he could have spit, and he did a far, far braver thing. What did he do you think? He simply yelled, I quit. I cannot, shall not, will not lug this stupid thing around. He slammed the tail of Prooey cats. He slammed it on the ground. So he didn't hurt the cat. That, like slamming the cat's tail on the ground is not going to hurt the cat. And these are very long tails for cats. Cats really don't have tails this long. Then Prooey cat slammed Bluey's tail, and Bluey cat slammed Hooey's, and Hooey cat slammed Chewy's tail, and Chewy cat slammed Cooey's. All tails in Katzenstein were slammed, including proud King Louis. And look at him. He started this whole thing. He thought everything was going great until all of a sudden his tail gets let go, and he goes, we have a problem. And that's the way it happens in, like, government especially, and in business too. Although when it happens in business, people go out of business. And when it happens in government, it creates problems that the government feels they have to solve. You didn't think there was all this kind of stuff in these books, did you? But it's there. And since that day in Katzenstein, so judged by the king's face, he's not upset about this. And since that day in Katzenstein, all cats have been more grown up. They're all more democratic, instead of democratic, democratic, because each cat holds his own up. Wow. And that's the way it should be in life. Everybody should hold their own tail up. Shouldn't have somebody else holding your tail up. The glunk that got thunk. So we were going to find out what a glunk is and to be thunk. Thunk must have something to do with thinking. A thing my sister likes to do some evenings after supper is sit upstairs in her small room and use her thinker-upper. So she's thinking. She's thinking about, like, these animals. One might be they might all be dogs. There's a duck-looking thing. There's maybe a cat-looking thing. So she's thinking about these things. Her thinker-upper. She turns her thinker-upper on. She lets it softly purr. It thinks up friendly little things with smiles and fuzzy fur. She sometimes does this by the hour. Then, when she's tired of play, she turns on her unthinker and unthinks the things away. And this says pop, like it's pop, it's gone. Well, so we see that again. Well, and the dot 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 means like on and on and on. Like it means a couple things. It means the word, like you go well, but also it means well, and then the dot 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 is sort of like, you know, the rest of the story. You can fill it in, but we don't know the rest of the story. So it's just sort of a bridge to whatever's happening next. One evening she was thinking up some fuzzy little stuff, and Sister sighed, this stuff's all right, but it's not fun enough. So this is the fuzzy stuff that she's thinking up. I've got to think of bigger things. I bet I can, you know. I'll speed my thinker-upper up as fast as it will go. Think, think, she cried. Her thinker-upper gave a snorty snore. So it's her brain, but it started thunk, thunk, thunking as it never had before. With all her might, her eyes shut tight, she cried, thunk, thunk, some more. So look at this scary creature that's starting to appear in her thought. Whoa, this guy's pretty intimidating looking. Then blonk, her thinker-upper thunked, a double clunker clunk. My sister's eyes flew open and she saw she'd thunked a glonk. So this dude is a glonk. He was greenish, not too cleanish, so he was dirty. And he sort of had bad breath. Good gracious, gasped my sister, I have thumped up quite a mess. And by meth, I think it's a mess, but with a speech impediment. Because I don't know what why that word would fit there. She turned on her unthinker, tried to think the glunk away, but she found that her unthinker didn't seem to work that day. The glunk just smiled and said, "Dear child, you can't unthunk a glunk. Ask anyone, they'll tell you that a glunk can't be unthunk. I'm here to stay forever in your lovely, lovely home. And now, with your permission, dear, I'll use your telephone." But he's saying telephone, but he's going to use the telephone, and that's it right there. That's what telephones used to look like. In some houses, you still might see, this is called a landline. It plugs into the wall, and then the wires go underground or up on telephone poles and stuff like that. But we don't really use that. Like, you can't take this to the grocery store with you like you can with a cell phone. So most people are using cell phones. I'll call my mother every night. It gives her such great joy. She lives 900 miles away, and I'm her only boy. Now, this is something else that you guys probably will never deal with. That's long distance rates. On this kind of phone, if you called somebody that was in a different area code than you, the first three numbers of your phone number, it costs more money. And if it was out of the region like that your phone company was in, it cost even more money. If it was in another country, it was very expensive. I made a call one time from Israel to your grandmother, and it cost a couple $100. It was insane. Oh, oh, 9,000 miles away. Okay, just making sure that we're not skipping here. Long distance is expensive, Sister cried. Get off that line. But the glunk dialed Texacoda cut 123409. So he's calling this long distance number. Hello, dear mother, gabbed the glunk. I hope you're feeling fine. And don't worry about the phone bill. It's all paid by a friend of mine. I've just called you up to tell you how I love you. Oh, I do. And today I did some cooking, and I cooked some glunker stew. Let me tell you how I did it. You may want to make some too. You take a cup of applesauce, you add a pinch of straw. You drop in 14 oysters, 7 cooked and 7 raw. Ew. You beat it to a frazzle with a special frazzle spade. Then you pour it in a rubber boot half filled with lemonade. Then you toss it in the mixer where you spuggle it and spin it. Stop, my sister yelled. This costs $10 a minute. Now in 1969, $10 was a lot of money. It was probably like $100 now. At least 75, but probably 100. Money? Pooh! The glunk just laughed. Don't think of things like that. Then he said, now, darling mother, let me see, where was I at? Oh, you take it off the mixer when the stew is nicely pink. Then you add a hunk of something. Hunk of chuck-a-luck, I think. Then you chuck in chunks of chiclets. Then you plunk in 7 cherries. Then you plunk in, mother dear, 3 frozen kinds of berries. Now, mother mine, please do this right. Those berries that you're plunking, unless you plunk them with great care, will keep the stew from glunking. Now, none of this really makes any sense. And the sister's freaking out. Stop, stop, my little sister screamed. It's not a funny joke. My father can't afford this call. My father will go broke. Now you keep still, the glunk snapped back. He kicked her in the shin. Oh, no. Don't you interrupt my mother when she's plunking berries in. Now, mother, plunk one berry blue. Now, plunk one berry raz. What's that? You have no raspberries? Oh, everybody has. But if you don't have berries, raz a schmutzberry. A schmutzberry will do. You have a schmutz, I know you have. Now plunk it in the stew. And he went on talking berries with his dear old darling mother. He jabbered and he blabbered 1 whole hour, and then another. He talked $300 worth. My sister shook with fright. This glunk might cost us millions. He might jabber on all night. My father will be ruined. We'll be penniless. We're sunk. Unless I can unthunk him. Oh, I must unthunk this glunk. So now there's going to be financial ruin in the family because of her thunking. She thunked the glunk. And that is how I found them. She was standing there unthunking. The glunk still talking glunker stew. That glunk was not unglunking. Talking into the wrong end of the phone. You talk into this end. And you listen on this end. But this is 1969. The glunk wasn't using it like a cell phone. Yeah, like this phone didn't have speaker phone or anything. There's no camera on that. It's whoa, whoa. Okay. We are going the right way. There we go. Could she unthunk the glunk alone? It's very doubtful whether. So I turned on my unthinker, and we unthunk the glunk together. And there they're putting their power together, and the glunk is disappearing. Then I gave her quite a talking to about the thinker-upper. Now she only thinks up fuzzy things in the evening after supper. And I think that's it. Yep. Peace out.